Before we get started, I would like to have your attention and cooperation to switch off your mobile phone or turn into a silent mode. If it is an urgent call, please leave the room first before you answering the call. Thank you for your kind cooperation and attention. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to introduce myself. I am Hajah Ratnawati binti Haji Muhammad, the first PMCA recipient 2015 from Brunei Darussalam. Here today as a moderator for this show and share session. So I'm feeling honored to be here, and I would like to convey my many thanks to PMCA Foundation for this opportunity. On behalf of the organizing committee, we'd like to extend our appreciation for your presence today. A warm greeting to each and every one of you. Welcome to the show and share session. Before we start this session, let me introduce you our speaker. Mr. Yok Jun Ming, he received his master's degree with a major in learning science and technologies and completed the management and leadership in school program from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. His teaching career started in 2006 as an English language and mathematics teacher. He has served as the subject head of English language and the head of Info Communication Technology Department, and is now the head of English Language and Social Studies Department at UNEM Primary School. He was awarded the Inspiring Teacher of English Award Leadership in 2018 and is a finalist for the President Award for Teachers in 2020. His major accomplishment included the introduction of ICT into English language teaching and learning, and computational thinking and coding, the school curriculum, leading the implementation and communication of school ICT master plan, and spearheading a high-progress multidisciplinary program in his school. Today, I try my best to bring you all to listen to Mr. Yok Jun Ming, who is going to share with us about one of his best practices in how he is using rich text to teach different language skills such as reading, writing, listening, and speaking for his students. Why this topic is important, and how can rich text help us to develop the students' competency in their language skill? All will be answered in his presentation later. Without further ado, please welcome Mr. Yok Jun Ming, 4th PMCA recipient from Singapore. The floor is yours.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for taking your time out today to attend my session and having me here. Okay, allow me to introduce myself again. Okay, this is my 16th year in service. Actually, before teaching, I was working in a bank, and at that time, I actually did volunteer work with single parent children, and I found it very meaningful. But since I was young, I've always wanted to be a teacher. I could remember that when I was young and my cousins came over to my place, I would actually prepare worksheets for them and use my mother's cupboard as a blackboard to teach them. So they didn't like coming to my house because they had to pretend to be students and I was the teacher. Okay? And I always believe that all students can learn and want to learn, and they can actually learn at a higher level as well. Okay, in my school, we have a spectrum of students, from the very weak ones who have little family support to the ones who are more financially stable and have the family support. Okay, so today my sharing will be based on this. I will start off with what this rich text is all about and what the approach is in my school. Then I will talk to you about the areas of language learning based on our country syllabus. I will talk to you a bit more about rich texts. You might be wondering what rich texts are. And finally, you get to do a hands-on activity, okay, before we close for a reflection. Okay, so in our school, we have this thing called World Class at Yunnan. Yunnan is my school. And there are three aspects to it. We have going local, which is actually understanding Singapore and appreciating Singapore's history and heritage. We also have going Southeast Asia, which is having a better understanding of Southeast Asian region and also connecting with Southeast Asia. And finally, going global, we want our children to have a global mindset and be able to understand what is happening around the world. So, and as the earlier speaker mentioned, 21st century skills as well. So we want to have them to have communication, collaborative information skills. We want them to have civic literacy, global awareness, and also critical and creative thinking. Okay? And you can see, based on our syllabus, the areas of language learning, there are 6 areas: listening and viewing, speaking and representing, reading and viewing, writing and representing, as well as grammar and vocabulary. And you can see the top 2, listening, viewing, reading and viewing. That is actually receptive skills. You receive something from someone. Okay? Then the other side, speaking and representing, writing and representing, you produce something. Okay? So today, my sharing on rich text will show you how these skills are being taught through the use of rich text. Okay, what are rich texts? Essentially, rich texts are literary and informational. Okay, they are functional. They are very well written, and they feature stories in real context. Okay, and they are concerned with a variety of issues and ideas, and they can be multimodal. It doesn't have to be printed. It can be online as well. So you can see, for the lesson flow, in a typical rich text lesson, I will start off with pre-reading. Okay, that's to activate the students' learning and knowledge about whatever they're going to read about. If it's something new, it's also an opportunity for them to learn new things about the country that they're going to read about in the story. Then, we will have reading. Okay, typically, during the lessons, I will read to them first before they read themselves, so that they can also know how to pronounce some of the words that are difficult. Then, after that, we will have a series of activities to promote thinking and discussion. Okay, so that they can be more critical, they can engage better with the text. And later, you will have a hands-on session with that. Okay, what are some of the post-reading activities? You can see here, the first visual on the left, we talk about the themes. Okay, what is the theme in the story? What is the story trying to teach you? It's sort of like the moral of the story. Okay, and in the middle, we identify the main ideas and details in the story, so that our students know what exactly is happening in the story. If they can list out the main ideas and the details, that means they have understood the story. And on the right, just like earlier speaker, the last activity, he talked about comparing and contrasting. Okay, we want them to compare and contrast similarities and differences with their own country, for example. Okay, so here are some of the examples of the text, the rich text that we use in our school. Okay, you can see the first set on your left, they talk about unequal access to education around the world. So we have texts like Herd Boys of Lesotho, School Under the Bridge, and Usher in the Camel Library. Later, I will get you to have a hands-on session with the second text, School Under the Bridge. Okay? Then on the right, we talk about demonstrating honesty, integrity in difficult situations. And we have these text, Scales of Justice, both sides of the fence, and winning. Okay? So you can see these texts are taught over the year, and they all have the same themes and topics for our students to make connections. Okay, I'm going to show you this example that I just did with my class. Okay, it's called Herd Boys of Lesotho, and it actually chronicles the lives of students, children, boys especially, in Lesotho, which is an African country. Okay? And why, you might ask, why are we featuring other countries? Like I mentioned earlier, World Class in Women, we want to connect them to different parts of the world. Some of the students in my school, they never get to travel. So we want to bring the world into the classroom so that they can also learn about the other cultures as well. Okay? So in this case, this country is landlocked, meaning it has no access to water. Okay? And these children, they are aged between 7 and 14. But they have to go up to the mountains to herd cattle, okay, livestock. And it's very unusual because in most of the poorer countries around the world, the girls don't get to go to school. But in Lesotho, it's the opposite. The boys don't get to go to school because they have to herd livestock. Okay? And the other part is, later in the text, we'll talk about how, because these children are up in the mountains by themselves, they became very creative. Okay? They make their own toys. Yeah, they actually make their own musical instruments. And later, during one of the post-lesson activities, I actually got my students to compare their lives with the lives of these students. Okay? And this is also part of the one of the ways for us to build empathy. We want our children to put themselves in the shoes of others and think like these people. Because in general, most children in Singapore are quite lucky. Okay, they are quite blessed. So we wanted them to put themselves in the shoes of others to actually experience for themselves what is it like to be, for example, a herd boy in Lesotho. Okay, so again, like I mentioned earlier on, the overarching theme for this will be children in different parts of the world have unequal access to education. Okay, unlike perhaps in some of the countries around the world, like in Singapore, most children will be able to go to school. Okay? I'm going to show you a video of what Herd Boys Lesotho looks like. Okay, so this short video is actually played before we read the text, so that the children actually have some idea of what life in Lesotho is like. Okay? For the next slide, I'm going to show you an example of how my students actually discuss ideas based on the text. This is right, the next slide. Can play the next one. So talking about access to education. So as you can see, right, the first boy has a very unique perspective. He felt that actually it's not a matter of whether the children in Africa having lack of access to education, but they learn different things, different skills. In Singapore, they learn about math, science, English, and values, and so on and so forth. But those children in Africa, they learn skills like farming, okay, which is also equally important. Whereas the second boy actually talked about how students in poorer countries, they have lesser resources for education. They don't have textbooks, they don't have complete classrooms, for example. Okay? So this is how we actually facilitate students' discussion and get them to communicate and discuss with each other and talk about these things so that they can understand what lives are like for other children in other parts of the world. Okay? Okay, so how does rich text develop language skills? Okay, so actually, based on research in communicative language learning, if we use a real text, it can connect better to students. They can actually appreciate the stories better, and they also learn from texts that are actually very real life, okay, and authentic. And also, this is an opportunity for them to actually talk, okay, discuss. It's actually part of our syllabus as well, to inquire through dialogue, okay, through speaking. And also, when you speak, you also need to listen. So it is a complete cycle. And when we speak, they share ideas, they discuss, they talk about the issues, they also think more critically as well. Then how it actually helps support the other areas of learning. Okay, as you can see, everything is covered. Okay, they also do some writing. They also, because they read, they discuss, they speak, they listen. They also do writing, and we also cover the grammar and vocabulary as well. Words they are not so sure of, we actually got them to look at it as well. Okay, the other more important thing is we also want to foster these 21st century competencies. So, like I mentioned earlier on, we want to bring the classroom, we want to bring the world into the classroom. So we expose them to this set of different texts to foster a global mindset. Okay, and because these texts are real, they are authentic, okay, and they are culturally diverse. Okay, they feature children all over the world. Okay, we also use some texts from Southeast Asia as well. So they can actually build this understanding of different cultures and connect with them. And of course, to foster that critical thinking. Okay, so you can see here, these are examples of my students' work. Okay, they are actually done online. So here, I actually got them to do a comparison and contrast of the lives of students in Lesotho and Singapore. Okay, so what is different for the students in Lesotho and Singapore? They actually do it at the side. And what is common is in the middle. Okay, so that actually gets them to think and to compare and contrast their lifestyles with the lifestyles of those children. Okay, and here I extended it a little. I got them to talk about the benefit of receiving an education in Singapore and also give examples on the right. Okay, so really, what I found after introducing them to this text, they actually read better, they understand what they read better as well, okay? And the second point is very important. I think the children tend to be able to empathize with others. They try to put themselves in the shoes of others, even though they may not have experienced the situation. After reading these stories and discussing about them, they actually can feel for others better. And I think this is something that we want in our children, more than just being academically excellent. We want to have them instill these values in them as well. Okay? And of course, now when they read, they actually are more critical. They will ask me questions. Hey teacher, is this even possible? Why is this like that? Okay? Okay, so here are some of what my students said. Okay, so which texts have helped me understand issues around the world. Okay, I learned how hard the lives of some people are around the world as well. And I can understand the topics, the themes in the stories, okay, as well as being able to study them with a lot deeper. Okay, before we do hands-on, do you have any questions?
คือขอถามเป็นภาษาไทยอะค่ะใครจะช่วยแปลเป็นภาษาอังกฤษได้บ้างคะก็คือคำถามก็คือ rich text เนี่ยเป็นข้อความหรือเป็นบทความที่มีปริมาณตัวอ่านมากเพื่อเอามาใช้ในการสอนเด็กแต่ในที่สุดแล้วเนี่ยครูก็ต้องมาออกแบบกิจกรรมการเรียนรู้เองตามเป้าหมายของหลักสูตรที่ตัวเองได้ตั้งใจไว้แบบนั้นหรือเปล่าอันนี้คือคำถามที่1นะคะสำหรับคำถามที่2ก็คือในกรณีที่เด็กของเราเนี่ยมีคลังคำศัพท์ไม่มากเหมือนเป็นเด็กประถมนะคุณครูเคยมีตัวอย่างหรือมีอะไรที่เราอยากจะฝึกเด็กให้ใช้นำ rich text มาใช้ในบทของเด็กประถม2 คำถาม Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay. So with the, I think you raised the point about students, primary school students, not knowing certain words. Okay, that is not an issue because before I start the reading, okay, the pre-reading part, I think later you will experience it in the hands-on. I actually go through some of the words with them, okay, or I let them do homework, get them to look for the meanings of the words first. Then when we come to class and we read the text, they'll be able to understand the text better. Okay, and how I designed this, okay, basically yes, we actually designed this whole set of lessons based on what we want them to achieve. Like I mentioned, the different areas of learning in English, the different skills, and each text maybe we will look at different skills. For example, this one, I want to go into writing, or I want to have more speaking and listening. Yeah, then the values part, like I mentioned, is very important. We want them to think using different perspectives. Again, think about issues. Okay? If I'm this person, how would I feel if I have to go to the mountains to her? So yes, we actually designed this with a group of teachers. And I was very lucky to work with a master teacher from the English Language Institute of Singapore. So we came together to design this whole set of lessons.
So, I have some more questions that's really related with her question. That means every time you want to teach the student, you and your team, you choose the text, right? Okay, so you will design the activity of each text, right? But in Thailand, we have some problems because we have to connect to our textbook, right? Every school have to have textbook and then we need to follow that. Okay, we have to finish sometime in 1 year for our textbooks, but it's okay right now. And I have some more and do the student or the learners they have chance to choose the text by themselves or all of them?
Yes, in Singapore it's the same. We also have our curriculum. We also have to finish the text that is in our curriculum. So this is actually an additional program. Yeah, extra on top of what we cover in school. So actually for each level, there are not many texts. Like I showed you, there are about 3 texts that we actually spread throughout the year to finish. Yeah. And like you were asking the preparation, right? Actually, we already did the preparation way ahead before the curriculum was rolled out, the program was rolled out. So everything is in place. So every year we will just make some changes here and there because sometimes we will bring in news articles, some of the events happening around the world at this moment, and if it matches, we will actually bring some of those things in as well.
Okay, good morning everyone. So I am Narumon and lecturer, and actually I'm an English lecturer from Pharmacope Buddhist University. So actually I have a question. So can you it's like a simple question. Can you explain what is the difference between normal text and rich text? Okay, what is the main difference? Thank you.
Okay, I sent you an example. Okay, so for example, our students read fairy tales, right? They always introduce fairy tales to them at a very young age. Okay, that is not a rich text. That is just a text to entertain you. After reading, you feel entertained. But these texts, they are actually about real issues around the world. Okay, poverty. Okay, whether children actually can go to school or not. So that's the main difference. A rich text has the word rich, right? Meaning that they are authentic, they are real. Okay, and after reading them, you know that there are issues around the world. Like for example, the first one, not everyone in the world actually can go to school. We don't have the same opportunities around the world. So that's the main difference between a rich text and a normal text, if you would like to call it. Okay.
It's like cross-cultural.
Yes, you're right. Global, cross-cultural. Okay, because we want to bring the world into the classroom, knowing that not everyone has the opportunity to travel. And you know, this past 2.5 years, because of the pandemic, it makes it even more difficult. So, in fact, actually 2 weeks ago, we just did a virtual learning journey with one Thai school. And we actually got our students to present what we do in our school, and the other side, the Thai school also presented what they did in their school to our students. So we really want them to have this global mindset and to connect. More importantly, first with Southeast Asia, because these countries are nearest to Singapore.
Yeah, so and how many times that you use a rich text like this for one semester like that?
Okay, so we have 3 texts for both primary 5 and primary 6, because I teach primary 5 and primary 6, which are 11-year-olds and 12-year-olds. So we have 3 texts for each level. So we cover 1 text in 1 term. Because in a year, there are 4 terms in our school calendar. So we cover 3 texts in 1 term, 3 texts in the year for both primary 5 and primary 6 each term. So for example, term 1, term 2, term 3.
Oh, you have 3 terms, right?
4.
Oh, 4 terms.
4
same
terms.
idea.
Yes.
In Thailand, you have only 2 terms.
We call that semesters.
Semester, yeah.
So we have 2 semesters.
2 semester, but 4 terms.
Each semester is 2 terms. Yeah.
Please, example and expected outcome learning outcome or implicit outcome from this program of you.
Yes. So in terms of the outcomes, there are no exams. Okay. So actually, what we do here, we want to see that they can apply what they have learned in terms of the reading skills, in terms of the comprehension skills. Of course, at the end of the day, they sit for exams. So we find that the children are able to apply those skills to exams, for example. But we are also trying to reduce the stress of the exams. We want to, that's why actually a large part of this is talking about instilling values, the value of empathy. Yeah. So we do see that actually the children do better, for example, in reading and writing at the end of the day. Yeah. So it may not be an exam kind of thing, but it does translate to that as well. Yeah.
Excuse me, Mr. If I can ask you a question. Is it which text is the same with the contemporary issues happen around the world? And how did you select the rich text for your students?
Thank you. Yeah, so Mrs. Ratner is right. We also do contemporary issues in the school. Okay, I think like I mentioned earlier on, if there are some events happening around the world and they are quite connected to some of these texts, we'll bring them in. But separately, we also have a contemporary issues program where we actually bring in newspaper articles for whatever events that are happening around the world, and we also carry out discussions. So a lot of the times, how we select the texts really depends on what we want to teach. and what we want the children to learn. Because our children will not probably know a lot about India, for example, Africa, maybe Southeast Asia, they are still quite familiar with, because we do cover that in our social studies syllabus. But for countries like Africa, India, they may not know so much. So we want to bring these stories in so that our children have a wider perspective. Like I said earlier on, go local, go Southeast Asia, and go global.
One more thing. It's understandable that in the class we have a ability. We have a low ability, with a medium ability, and the high functioning one. So how do you make activities? Do you mix them in one group or separate? Yeah.
So we also practice differentiated learning. So some of the texts we actually have a simpler version for the weaker students. Or sometimes the activities that we want them to do, we will also have different versions. Some may have more help given to the lower progress students so that they are also able to manage that. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that everyone learns the same thing. The same outcomes are met, okay, no matter whether they have more support or not. So this is one way we actually do that. Mrs. Ratna also mentioned sometimes we'll mix the students. So the stronger ones can actually help the slower ones.
ค่ะการจนาราจากหัวหินนะคะขอเป็นการแลกเปลี่ยนเรียนรู้แล้วกันนะคะสำหรับดิสเทคทีนี้จากที่ประสบการณ์ที่เคยไปที่สิงคโปร์เมื่อ35 ปีที่แล้วแล้วก็อันนั้นคือครั้งแรกนะคะอันนั้นไปศิลปะวัฒนธรรมที่ทางสถานทูตสิงคโปร์เชิญมานะคะก็ไป21 วันแล้วก็ไปอีก 2-3 ครั้งนะคะแล้วที่ส่วนใหญ่นะคะก็คือเมื่อก่อนที่จะโควิดนะคะก็ทางลูกชายนะคะก็ไปเรียนแลกเปลี่ยนที่สิงคโปร์นะคะแล้วตัวเองก็เป็นโฮสต์แฟมิลี่จากเด็กสิงคโปร์นะคะทีนี้ทางเด็กสิงคโปร์นี่เขาก็บอกว่าเด็กไทยเรียนแบบง่ายสบายเล่นเกมมือถือนี่เล่นได้ทุกเวลาแต่ในสิงคโปร์เด็กจะเวลาเรียนนะคะเขาจะเรียนที่ว่าแข่งขันกันสูงมากลูกชายก็บอกว่าแม่ที่นู่นน่ะการไปเล่นมือถือในเวลาเรียนนี่ถือเป็นความผิดร้ายแรงมากๆนะคะที่รู้สึกว่าเขาจะต้องตั้งใจเรียนอย่างสูงนะคะทีนี้ก็เลยมีคำถามว่าปัจจุบันนะคะจากที่อ่านข่าวเขาบอกว่าเด็กสิงคโปร์จะเป็นเด็กที่ค่อนข้างที่จะเครียดในเรื่องของการเรียนเพราะว่าเป็นความหวังของพ่อแม่ว่าคุณจะต้องเรียนที่นี่และเข้ามหาลัยที่นี่ได้อย่างนั้นปัจจุบันยังเป็นหรือเปล่าคะหลังจากโควิดค่ะโอเคค่ะ
Okay, so yes, it's true, okay. Education in Singapore is stressful, okay, and we have a very vibrant curation industry, okay, but things have changed significantly because, for example, at primary school, we actually changed the way we actually grade our students at the end of the 6 years. We have this thing called primary school living examinations. So in the past, we have 200 over scores. Okay, so you can get from 80 something all the way to 200 over something, and then you get a placement in secondary school. So we have revised that system. So now there are only 32 scores from 4 to 32. Okay, and like I mentioned, we are trying to move away from the academic focus to a more holistic education. So these days we have multiple pathways. So you don't have to, maybe during my time, I have to go to primary school, secondary school, then go to a junior college, and then go to university because that is the most direct route, right? So these days there are many routes. They can go to Polytechnic, they can go to Institute of Technical Education, which is a vocational school. They can still end up in university as well. And not everyone needs to go to the university. We have students who are very good with hands-on stuff. They actually get a diploma, and they actually go out and work for a few years, and they gain experience, they may want to go to the university. If not, that's fine. Yeah. So we are also revamping our curriculum so that we actually pay more attention to the values as well as other skills as well. Yeah. But it will take time. It will take time. It will probably take a generation to change the mindset of parents. Yeah. Okay. Should we proceed on to the hands-on activity? Okay, so the hands-on activity, I would like to trouble you. If you do have your devices with you, if you have an iPad or a handphone, you can use that. If you don't, I actually have printed copies as well. You can also take that. Okay, so what we're going to do is, you're going to look at this text called School Under the Bridge. Oh, so sorry. Yeah, we're going to look at this text called School Under the Bridge. It actually features a school that's under the bridge in India. Okay, so the pre-reading part, I've actually put everything in this online platform called ClassKick. Later, I will show you how you can log in. Okay, so before you start reading the text, okay, I'm doing a simplified version. Okay, not the full version. You can read some facts about education in India. Okay, there are 4 pages there. Then the second page will be the text. Okay, after that, after you have read, on the 3rd page, you actually have a game, a very simple game. Okay, because in the text, the man who started the school actually talked about some of the problems he faced running the school under the bridge. But for every problem, he actually has a solution. So in this simple game, you can do some matching between the problem and the solution. Okay, why I actually use technology? Like I said before, I think not every child has the chance to use technology at home. Okay, so when I started bringing technology to the school 10 over years ago, it is to really engage the students in their learning. And we found that once you get the students engaged, they can learn better. Okay, at this game, when they play, because you can actually monitor their scores. And you know our children love playing games, right? And they like this thing called leaderboard. Well, if I'm on top or whatever. So the game actually allows you to capture their scores and actually show who is on top. And so some children, they want to do better, they will play the game again. Okay? Then the next one, the second activity is what I've shown you earlier on, the compare and contrast activity with the Venn diagram, the 2 sides, what is different. So I would like you to make a comparison between the children in India and maybe perhaps the children in Thailand. Okay, and do a compare and contrast activity. And if there's enough time, then we'll do a quick reflection as well. Okay. Okay, so this is how you can log in to ClassKick. Okay, you can just go to classkick.com, and on the top right-hand corner there's this login. You can be my students for today. Then you log in as a student on top here. Then you key the code and your name. Okay? So the code is here. DPJWYD. There's no need for a space. You can do this with your partner, it's fine. You don't have to do it individually, you can discuss. Okay? So if I were to do this in the classroom, I will get the students to pair up so that they can work together. If you can't log in, just let me know. Or if anyone wants the hard copies, you can raise your hands as well. But you can have hard copies, I can give it to you so that you can have a copy as well. I know it might be a bit small on the screen for you, so you can refer to the hard copies. printed one instead. Yes, you log in as you can put any name, doesn't matter. Yes. Then your turn to name by name.
ตัวนึงได้อีกชั่วโมงน่าจะไม่มีปัญหาตัวนึงได้อีกชั่วโมงไม่ได้เลยไปเที่ยงครึ่งเลยก่อน
เพราะว่าบางวันก็เอาไปแบ็คอัพกันอยู่
So usually when I do this in class, they will actually have a laptop or an iPad, so that it's a bit bigger. I know now we don't have that, some people don't have a device, so it's a bit small. But if you really want to do this, then you get the iPad or the laptop. So the good thing about using this is that you can embed different materials in there as well. You can give, put videos, put pictures as well, so the students can actually have access to many different materials. So you can see at the bottom, yeah. I know now you're using a handphone, it's a bit small, but if it is an iPad or a laptop, it will be better. ladies and gentlemen, maybe I just run through with you the whole sequence, okay? Okay, so typically what will happen is that before the lesson, I'll get them to either look for the words that they might not understand, or get them to read something about, for example, India, which they may not know. Okay, so this is done. I know today, because we are doing a show and share, you won't have the opportunity. So this will be done beforehand. Okay, then when they come into the classroom, we will actually read the text. Okay, so they will read the text. I will read this to them, and I will get them to read on their own. I know this lady here did mention that this is quite challenging for elementary school students in Thailand. Okay, so you probably have to tweak a little. If you want to use this text, you can actually go online. There are simpler versions of this text as well that will highlight the main problems and the solutions. Okay, so we like I said earlier on, we will have to customize. If I also have very weak students, so I will use a simpler version of this text. Yeah. Okay. So after they have read, what I will get them to do is play this simple game on page 3. Okay, you just click on this, you'll get to here. Okay, this simple game, like I mentioned earlier on, there are different problems the man encountered in running the school under the bridge, and he also has solutions. So this is just a matching game. If I give you a solution, which is actually the problem. Okay, the good thing about this is I can actually capture the students' performance real time. Once they click submit, I can see how they have done. I also know whether they have understood the story or not. Yeah. And also, if they don't do well enough, they can try again. Okay, they have up to 3 tries. Yeah, because at the end of this, they will show the high score for each child. Yeah, and you know some children, they want to do better, they want to improve on the performance, they will try again. Okay? Then after this activity, what they will do is this Venn diagram, which I showed you earlier on. Okay? So what I did, I actually got the children to compare and contrast their lives. Okay, so in your case, it could be the lives of students in Thailand versus the lives of students in India. Okay, so on the 2 sides, they can write down how their lives are different. Then in the middle, how their lives are similar. Yeah, so it's a Venn diagram. I know you see this very much in mathematics, but for language learning, this can be done as well. Okay, so after they have written this down, we will have a class discussion. Okay, the similarities we can highlight to show them that actually children around the world, they share the same set of similarities. Okay, but in India, how children are different from, for example, Thailand. And I'm sure in Thailand, the lives of children in Bangkok will also be different from the lives of children in the more remote areas. Even in fact that you can have a discussion. Yeah. So this is the whole flow of the lesson, for this lesson. Okay? Definitely. Yes. Actually, for the choice of each text, the selection is very important. So we need to customize to the student profile that we are teaching, okay, and the environment we are in. So it's definitely up to you. Okay. Any questions?
Excuse me, Mr. York.
Yeah.
One more question. Why did you decide to incorporate technology in your lesson?
Okay, I think like I mentioned earlier on, because students these days are very tech savvy, very much into technology. I think earlier on this lady mentioned, you earlier mentioned that the use of mobile phone is not allowed, right, in the classroom. Yeah. So now, actually, in fact, all our secondary school students, they are given a laptop. Yeah, because of the pandemic. Okay, and in our primary schools, all primary schools are also equipped with devices that we actually loan out to students without devices. So in fact, because of the pandemic, we have no choice. And really, if we can actually use technology to engage them in their learning and help them learn better, why not? Yeah. And I totally agree with you. In the past, you bring your handphone into the classroom, or no, confiscate. Yeah. So these days, we want to promote digital learning, self-directed learning, them learning on their own as well. And by using technology, the slower ones can learn at their own pace as well. Yeah. So they don't feel that I have to catch up with my friend, because this thing is available to me. When I go home, I can actually access it on my own. Okay, for the primary school, it's still controlled by the school. It's given through the school, will loan out to the students. Yeah, but for secondary schools, they are actually allowed to buy the laptop at a very cheap price. Yeah, so that everyone has a device that they can bring to school, and they can bring home to use as well. Okay. Yes. Subsidized price. So they're going to be 1/10 of the price of the laptop. Private schools, we will roll it out.
ในของสิงคโปร์นะครับผมดูลิสต์เสร็จแล้วคล้ายๆลักษณะการอ่านออเดอร์นะครับก็คือจับใจความนะครับทีนี้เนี่ยในระดับนักเรียนประถมศึกษานะครับของไทยนะครับทักษะเรื่องคำศัพท์เบื้องต้นยังอาจจะไม่เท่ากับที่สิงคโปร์นะครับเพราะฉะนั้นสิงคโปร์จะดูวิธีคิดวิธีสังเคราะห์และเปรียบเทียบเป็นห่วงกังวลไหมครับว่าแล้วด้านสกิลก็คือสมรรถนะด้านการฟังการพูดการอ่านการเขียนของเด็กซึ่งยังเป็นชั้นประถมศึกษาเนี่ยจะด้อยลงไปหรือไม่ครับ
Of course, I think we have a spectrum of students from the better ones to the weaker ones. So like I said earlier on, we will have to customize the materials even. So if we have a weaker student, the text itself might be simpler. Okay, it still covers the content, but the words are simpler, easier to understand as well. So that these students can also engage in the discussion. So we really need to differentiate our approach to the abilities of the different students. Because in Singapore, all our classrooms are actually mixed. So we have the weaker ones to the better ones as well. So we really need to actually practice differentiated instruction. Yes. All our actually English is our medium of instruction, so only our mother tongue languages are taught in mother tongue. Yeah, so all subjects are actually taught in English. Yes.
ก็ที่อาจารย์เรียนถามเมื่อสักครู่เรื่องของภาษาในประเทศสิงคโปร์นั้นเขาใช้ภาษาอังกฤษในการสอนทุกวิชาอยู่แล้วแสดงว่าเด็กนักเรียนของเขาการใช้ภาษาอังกฤษดีอยู่แล้วเพราะฉะนั้นถ้าเราดูในเท็กซ์นี้เนี่ยมันค่อนข้างสูงสำหรับนักเรียนไทยเราแต่วันนี้อาจารย์ว่าเราน่าจะยึดเทคนิคของเขาแต่เราไปเลือกริสเทคที่มันง่ายลงซอฟต์ลงกับเด็กของเราแต่วิธีการเรายึดของเขาว่าจะต้องมีก่อนสอนใช่ไหมคะถ้าเราเป็นเรื่องของ Go Global การข้าม Cross Cultural ให้
เอาโลกมาอยู่ในห้องเรียนของเราเนี่ยเราลองไปดูเทคสั้นๆ ที่ทำให้นักเรียนของเรารู้จักโลกภายนอก แล้วก็สั้นลงเนื้อหาง่ายขึ้นที่เหมาะกับเด็กเราป .5 ป .6 แต่เราใช้เทคนิคของเขาว่าก่อนสอนใช้วิธียังไงแล้วหลังสอนเนี่ยนักเรียนวิเคราะห์เนื้อหาแล้วมาดูความเหมือนและความต่างว่านักเรียนไทยเราเนื้อหาที่เราอ่านเนี่ยของเราเป็นยังไงของเขาเป็นยังไงความเหมือนคืออะไรในตรงกลางเราก็น่าจะยึดตรงนั้นแต่สำหรับเขาไม่มีปัญหาเพราะเขาสอนทุกวิชาเป็นภาษาอังกฤษ so how about Mandarin how about another language like Mandarin used in your school
So for mother tongue, they also have texts that also are similar. Yeah, so but not the same text. Yeah, so it's also part of, like I said, to inculcate the values as well, the different values as well. So in fact, in Thailand, you may even actually use articles about events that happen in Thailand. Yeah, the remote areas versus the Bangkok. Because Thailand is very big, Singapore is very small. So there are enough things to talk about. And for your elementary school students, you can customize, talk about topics that
are related to them.
Yeah, because going to school is actually within the experience of all the children. Yeah, you can even do a comparison between Bangkok and southern Thailand, for example. Yeah. So, like I said, this is just an example. You must customize for your students. Yeah. Okay? Yeah. If there are no more questions, thank you very much for attending this session. Thank you.
That was a very interesting sharing that we listened from Mr. Yok John Ming. So finally, we have almost come to the end of this our session. Before we all leave this room, herewith I share you takeaway points or notes from you all, for you all to bring back from this sharing. Okay, rich texts are literary and informational or functional texts which are well written and engaging. So they are rich in content and concern themselves with a variety of ideas, issues, topics and themes. So in this show and share session that we listened just now, you will learn how rich texts are used to teach English language skill and enable students to develop 21st century and social, emotional competency. So for that, we give a big applause for Mr. Yok John Ming for the amazing presentation.
Thank you very